For a country that survives from one bailout to the other, Pakistan tried its level best to tell the world that it was India that actually had attacked it. The Indian government made delegations. There were 7 delegations. They went to most of the countries in the world and told them what exactly had happened, and even gave a very clear message to Pakistan that this is the new normal now. Any act of terror will now be taken as an act of war. Joining me now, Bharatiya Janata Party MP, Mr. Panda. Mr. Panda, you led a delegation. You went to 4 countries. A little bit difficult, a lot of people would say. You went to Bahrain, Algeria, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. Now, these are countries Pakistan traditionally has thought has been their ally. Was it difficult to convince them about Operation Sindoor?
Let me respond to the 3 important points you have raised in your question. First, about Pakistan's propaganda, it's nothing new. You know, they've claimed each of the previous 4 wars they didn't start. Later on, they've been exposed. They still claim that they won those wars. It's amazing how they reconcile to themselves that they lost Bangladesh while claiming to have won that war. It's nothing new. In terms of being difficult, no, the situation had already changed quite a lot, because for the last 11 years, our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, had worked extremely hard. He has built rapport with the leaderships of these countries. In fact, some of these countries have already awarded him their highest civilian honor. Also, they have great respect for India because of thousands of years of connect. And they know that India has never invaded other countries, has given shelter to many from around the world, including from the Middle East. So they see India in a different light. Pakistan had been working on these countries for a variety of, with a variety of tactics, but they've been exposed because though they are all Islamic countries, there's a vast difference between how these countries have dealt with fundamentalism and terrorism and how Pakistan has. While Pakistan is the worst known propagator of terrorism, all these 4 countries, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Algeria, have taken very strong actions against terrorism and crushed it. Algeria, for instance, has actually had Pakistani-trained terrorists attack it in the 90s. So they completely understand where we are coming from. So while it might have been a difficult terrain some years ago or decades ago, it has changed a lot. The third point is about the new normal. The Prime Minister has made it very clear, but the main objective of our mission was to take this message that indeed there is a new normal. Over the past few years, and especially now, India has called out Pakistan's nuclear bluff and established a new norm that we will retaliate against terrorist bases if they attack us. Now, in the past, we haven't always done that. After Mumbai, we didn't retaliate. We've tried everything. We've had hundreds of rounds of dialogue. We've had treaties. We've had understanding on land and water and cricket diplomacy. None of it has worked.
Aman Ki Asha failed?
Everything has failed in the past. So the fact that we will hit back is indeed a very significant shift. And the world needs to know that this is a deliberate choice. It's not an accidental, whimsical decision. It's well thought through. And the fact that this Operation Sindoor, which the kinetic action has been paused, but Operation Sindoor itself is continuing. One was this outreach, messaging outreach. The third part is the economic sanctions. Now, the Prime Minister has made it very clear that these economic sanctions on trade, on shipping, on visas, on water, they're held in abeyance because we don't have a fight with the people of Pakistan. The Prime Minister has himself appealed to Pakistan to give up this enmity and to fight poverty together. So the idea is to compel Pakistan into changing its policies of using terrorism as state policy. Now, this also has to be messaged and informed to our friends, and it went very well indeed.
A lot of people talk about the Muslim Brotherhood. We saw it in Turkey. Turkey till date is standing behind Pakistan. The drones were sent out. Do you think this concept of Muslim Brotherhood has also changed over the past decades?
There's a very big difference. Some of the countries which, you know, there is actually an organization called Muslim Brotherhood, which some of these countries used to support back in the day, in the 60s and maybe 70s. They've moved away from it because they have moved very decisively against fundamentalism. Now, this is a fundamental difference. You know, some of these countries have watched as Pakistan has got more and more radicalized, more and more encouraging fundamentalists and terrorists. They've all seen the Osama bin Laden situation because they themselves have been the victims of Al-Qaeda. And they see with their eyes that we have 52 sanctioned terrorists and terror organizations operating in Pakistan. So these countries have taken a very different path to what Pakistan has taken. Secondly, terrorism flourishes both on this ideology where there is a divide between the countries we visited in Pakistan, but also on illicit financing. Now, some of these countries are in the UN Security Council and also they are on the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, which had proscribed Pakistan in the past. And so because of that monitoring, because of that watch list, that grey list, for some years Pakistan was not able to push terrorism as hard as it used to be and incidents had dropped. But a couple of years ago, it got released from that and they're back at it again. So these were issues of discussion amongst us. All in all, you know, the military cooperation that has started, we are in fact doing joint military exercises with some of these nations. The economic cooperation, they're all looking to India. They've seen as India has gone past the UK, now going past Japan. They want more economic ties. And they want to be part of the India growth story. But most importantly, they also want to work together with India on many global platforms. And that is indeed very welcome news.
There was a lot of uneasiness in opposition because some of them said that the names, especially the Congress party, even the TMC, they said the names that were proposed by them, those people were not chosen. BJP chose people. And BJP says they picked up people based on the experience that they had. We've been listening to people like Shashi Tharoor, especially Asaduddin Owaisi, Salman Khurshid. They are people who are speaking in one voice and presenting a united front. Do you think the opposition now needs to look at the united message that needs to go out instead of this bickering that we are seeing?
First of all, I don't think this is an opposition issue. This is an issue of 3 or 4 individuals who are venting their own frustration in this manner. Because these delegations included people from across the political spectrum, including from the Congress party. There was a very strong message in itself that, for example, in my delegation, we had 8 members representing all corners of India, representing 8 different mother tongues, different political parties, also 5 different religions. That itself was a very strong message. But let's make it very clear. Our delegations weren't there to speak for their parties. They were there to speak for India. And the 2 or 3 or 4 individuals who have been, you know, making comments about this have their own political axe to grind. And that's not getting any traction because this unity that you saw in our delegations was not in a vacuum. This represents the unity that you're seeing in India today. You can go to any part of India today, talk to any section of society, any people of any background, and you will see this, you'll hear this one voice that enough is enough. We've had enough with Pakistan. We must make sure that they permanently stop these cross-border terror attacks against us. And that is what we were messaging. So I would like to focus and celebrate and cherish this unity that we are seeing in India and we are projecting to the rest of the world. I don't want to get drawn into a few frustrated individuals' comments.
Opposition now is saying there should be a joint parliament session, special session which should be called, so that the government sort of clarifies on Operation Sindoor. Do you think that's necessary? Or do you think that the world now understands what we have done and the world understands this shift because of Prime Minister Modi's policies? Enough is enough?
You know, some of the people that are taking this line strangely have no questions about Pakistan. They had no questions about China either when there was hostilities on that border some years ago. Look, you know, Pakistan has a habit of propagandizing, and these 3 or 4 individuals, I don't call them the opposition because there are only a few people in their own party have spoken up for the country. They either wittingly or unwittingly are playing into Pakistan's hands. In fact, they are quoted extensively in Pakistan media. The reality is, Pakistan's fakeries don't last long. people laugh at some of their claims about earlier wars. Whatever propaganda they pushed, after the first few weeks now, even their own establishment people, even their own journalists, activists, anchors are calling out. They've seen the damage that has been done, which India had already presented the documentary evidence, the photographic evidence. Now they are making certain claims about India. The Indian armed forces have given very clear answers on this, and we don't need to necessarily share our operational details to suit Pakistan or to suit any frustrated individual in India. We are on a very good track. The missions that we all participated in have seen tremendous traction. And if we got this sort of traction in West Asia, Middle East and Gulf countries, that itself is a sign that the world today has zero tolerance for terrorism. And we have to leverage that. We are getting good traction. We will see good results.
Do you think there's a decisive shift post-2014, especially in the Muslim nations towards India? Do you think that shift has happened now?
Yes, it has. As I mentioned earlier, some of these Islamic countries have awarded their highest civilian honors to our Prime Minister. It's not happenstance, it's not coincidence, it's not casual, it's a well thought out thing. As I said, they respect Modi ji, they respect Indians, they love Indians actually. Wherever we went, we saw the Indian diaspora hugely successful, and it was very gratifying to hear from the leaders of these countries that they cherish the Indian diaspora because they are productive, they contribute to the nations, and they are good citizens, they're not trouble creators. And that was wonderful to hear. So, I think things have moved very decisively in our favor over the last decade. This is something that Pakistan hasn't been able to stand. So, its attempt to disrupt has been caught out. I think we are making good progress on countering this on a long-term basis, on a permanent basis.
Talking about politics in India, do you think, opposition will obviously rake it up. We have the monsoon session coming up. Do you think the opposition should rather focus on where India is heading, what should be the new normal, how to deal with Pakistan, instead of trying to poke needles into Operation Sindoor? It has been successful.
One of the messages that went across in our meetings, visits abroad, is that India is such a huge democracy. It's the largest in history with 900 million voters. It's mind-boggling to these countries. They hugely respect that. And they understand that we have a vibrant opposition. Many of them will have their own voices and their own arguments, and we can sometimes have very vocal disagreements in India. But it was very clear that when it comes to India's national security, when it comes to India's fight against terrorism, there is no discordant note. Everybody is united on this. And that message went through. Now, regarding what should be discussed in India, the Prime Minister has often appealed to all leaders across party lines that there is, of course, a very important role for opposition. And the opposition should push back on the government on issues of development, on issues of, infrastructure, of education. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen. I hope that this can be a turning point, because this unity that we see, which is related to foreign policy and national security, we don't have to all have the same opinion on domestic policy issues. But certainly we can have constructive differences which can lead to more productive outputs, rather than just some of the approaches that these 3 or 4 individuals are advocating.
My last question to you, do you think Pakistan should now understand that India has changed? The policy has changed?
I think one of the messages, we don't ever ask for mediation, even with these countries which are friendly nations. We were communicating our stand and what we are doing. But of course, these countries also have diplomatic ties and old relationship with Pakistan. I think Pakistan will get the message that this is a new India. We've had enough. And we are very clear, this new normal is something that they should not expect to be rolled back, because it's not a whimsical thing. It has come about after decades of frustration with every other approach. And it will be very, very costly for them to embark on this kind of adventurism again. It has been this time also very costly. So that message, I think, has got across.
Thank you for speaking with India Today, Mr. Jayapanda.
Thank you.